Jim Gallen had driven 4 miles out of Fairbanks when he spotted the hitchhiker standing in the snow beside the road, thumb raised high, shivering in the gray Alaskan dawn.
What's a fine young man doing out in this harsh weather?
He didn't appear to be very old, 18, maybe 19 at most.
Just trying to live off the land for a few months. Would you mind giving me a lift to the edge of Denial National Park?
Sure, buddy. What's your name?
Alex.
Alex.
Just Alex.
Alright, hop on, just Alex.
He appeared to not be carrying anywhere near as much food and gear as you'd expect a guy to be carrying for that kind of trip.
You're not one of those crackpots from the lower 48 who come north to live out, I'll consider Jack London fantasies, are you?
No, sir. Just trying to get away from society.
Did you kill someone?
Excuse me?
Well, the only reason why someone as young as you would want to live off the land up here might be because they're running away from the law, or, of course, that's probably isn't the case, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
Alex sits in silence, not acknowledging Jim's inappropriate question.
You know, it's pretty dangerous being up here, all alone without the proper equipment.
Yeah, but I'll be okay.
A bit after Jim and Alex spoke about the wilderness, and Jim asked what supplies he was carrying, and Alex admitted to only having a 10-pound bag of rice and an old tattered map with no compass. Jim also asked if he had a hunter's license, with Alex's response being,
Hell no. How I fed myself is none of the government's business. Fuck their stupid rules.
Upon arriving, Alex insisted on giving Jim his watch, his comb, and what he said was all his money, which was 85 cents in loose change.
I don't want your money, boy. Plus, I already have a watch.
Hey, if you don't take it, I'm going to throw it away. I don't want to know anything. Not the time or day or anything. None of that matters.
Hold up, kid. Jim reached behind the seat, pulled out an old rubber work boots and said, They're too big for me, but wear 2 pairs of socks and your feet ought to stay halfway warm and dry.
How much do I owe you?
Don't worry about it.
Says to him while handing Alex a slip of paper with his phone number on it, which Alex carefully tucked into a nylon wallet.
If you don't make it out alive, give me a call, and I'll tell you how to get the boots back to me.
Alex pulled a camera from his backpack and asked Jim to snap a picture of him shouldering his rifle at the trailhead. Then, smiling broadly, he disappeared down the snow-covered track. The date was Tuesday, April 28, 1992.
Ken Thompson, the owner of an Anchorage auto body shop, Gordon Samuel, his employee, and their friend Freddie Swanson, the construction worker, set out for the bus on September 6, 1992, stalking moose. They were about 10 miles past the end of the improved road. The Stampede Trail crosses the Tequalanca River, a fast, icy stream. The trail comes down to the riverbank just upstream from a narrow gorge, through which the Tequalanca surges in a boil of white water. In the late afternoon, by the time they finally arrived at the bus, when they got there, a guy and a girl from Anchorage standing 50 feet away, looking kind of spooked. Neither of them had been in the bus, but noticed a really bad smell from outside.
Hey, do you smell that?
Yeah, it smells almost as bad as your cooking.
Shut up, it tastes better than it smells.
It reeks like death. Maybe there's a dead animal sitting in there.
Let's check it out then.
Seems like someone's been here before us.
Inside laid a makeshift signal flag, a red knitted leg warmer of the sort worn by dancers that was knotted to the end of an alder branch by the vehicle's rear exit. The door was ajar, and taped to it was a distinguished note.
Hey, this kind of looks like a note. SOS, I need your help. I am injured near death and too weak to hike out of here. I am all alone. This is no joke. In the name of God, please remain to save me. I am out collecting berries close by and shall return this evening. Thank you, Chris McCandless, August.
The Anchorage couple had been too upset by the implication of the note and the overpowering odor of decay to examine the bus's interior, so Samuel steeled himself to take a look.
Gordon, what are you doing?
I'm trying to get a better look inside.
Samuel peeked through the window, revealing a Remington rifle, a plastic box of shells, 8 or 9 paperback books, some torn jeans, cooking utensils, and an expensive backpack. In the very rear of the vehicle, on a jerry-built bunk, was a blue sleeping bag that appeared to have something or someone inside it.
Hey, don't get too close, you might.
I think there's something in there.
Maybe if we walk around to the other side of the bus, we can get a better look.
Chris McCandless had been dead for 2.5 weeks.
Is that?
Oh my god, he's dead.
So what we do now?
We need to get this body out of here as soon as possible. What do you mean, what do we do now?
Oh, there isn't any room on our machine to haul it out.
Hey, I think someone else is coming up the trail.
A sixth person appeared on the scene, a hunter from Healy named Butch Killigan, because Killigan was driving an Argo, a large amphibious 8-wheeled ATV.
Hey, over here.
Well, hello there, sir. How can I do ya of service?
How do you feel about hauling out a dead body?
Dead body? Is you blind? You need to report this to the Alaska State Troopers immediately.
Drive 5 miles down the trail just before dark, he managed to come in contact with the radio operator at the Healy power plant. Dispatch, he reported.
This is Butch. You better call the troopers. There's a man back in the bus by the Shoshana. Looks like he's been dead for a while.
At 8:30 the next morning, a police helicopter touched down noisily beside the bus in a blizzard of dust and swirling aspen leaves. The troopers made a cursory examination of the vehicle and its environs for signs of foul play and then departed. When they flew away, they took McCandless' remains, a camera with 5 rolls of exposed film, the SOS note, and a diary. Written across the last 2 pages of a field guide to edible plants that recorded the young man's final weeks in 113 terse, enigmatic entries. The body was taken to Anchorage, where an autopsy was performed at the Scientific Crime Detection Laboratory. The remains were so badly decomposed that it was impossible to determine exactly when McCandless had died, but the coroner could find no sign of massive internal injuries or broken bones. Virtually no subcutaneous fat remained on the body, and the muscles had withered significantly in the days or weeks prior to death. At the time of the autopsy, McCandless' remains weighed 67 pounds. Starvation was posited as the most probable cause of death. McCandless' signature had been penned at the bottom of the SOS note, and the photos, when developed, included many self-portraits. But because he had been carrying no identification, the authorities didn't know who he was, where he was, or why he was there. What are some things you remember most about Alex?
These are what Alex used to drink. He used to sit right there and tell us these amazing stories of his travels. He could talk for hours.
When did you first meet him?
When I was driving out at Cut Bank, I pulled over for a hitchhiker who had the vulnerability that made me want to take the kid under my wing. I gave him a job and rented him a cheap room.
How would you describe Alex?
I like to think his sensitive good looks and are those women make a big fuss about.
Well, how about the kind of person he was?
Oh, right. He was a hardworking, intelligent fella, but did too much thinking.
Would you say you guys got close?
Pretty much, yeah. Even after I got arrested, but he kept in touch.
How do you feel about him donating all of his money?
We misread him. Said he was going to use it for law school.
How was your relationship with your brother?
We were really close.
What might have led to his disappearance?
Well, he sent me a letter complaining about the car my parents tried to buy him. He's been really strongly attached to his old car since high school. Maybe he wanted to get away from money and society.
How was Chris's behavior before he disappeared?
I found it strange when he got me flowers and sentimental cards after 2 years of receiving nothing.
When was the last time you heard from him?
Last we heard from him was when he sent his transcripts. After 3 months had gone by, we decided to visit him. But when we had already took off and had the post office hold onto his mail, we sent him and returned them.
Well, how did this make you feel?
This really worried me.
What events led to finding this Datsun?
A team of rangers and I were sent asking the south shore of Lake Med to tally bear paw, popples, and just as we neared the top of the bank, one of my guys spotted an old abandoned Datsun with a few belongings in it.
What did you do with the car?
We first sent a tech type to law enforcement agencies and ran a detailed search to see if it was associated in any crime. Then another ranger jump started the car some 5 days later, and so the thing ran like a champ.
When Chris arrived at the National Park regional area, he drove off the pavement, which was strictly forbidden.
The government doesn't control what I do.
He pitched his tent in a shady area 2 miles from the riverbed for 2 days right before it started raining, and his car battery was drained.
Damn it. Don't die on me now. Forget it. I'll take what I can, but before I do, I need to get rid of these expired license plates.
He buried a couple things, burned his money, and set out hiking around Lake Mead. Around a week later, he accepted a ride from Ernie and worked with him for 11 days, then took off with a bike. His parents became more worried when they received an unpaid ticket for hitchhiking near Willow Creek in California and sent out an investigator to find him. Near the Oregon line, he met Jan and Bob, whom he stayed with for a week and sent postcards to for the next 2 years. He bought a canoe in which he intended to paddle to the Gulf of California. He snuck into Mexico and found out he was headed the wrong way, leading him through another long journey. After abandoning the canoe, he tried to sneak back to the U.S. and spent a night locked up. He tried getting an ID and job in L.A., but felt uncomfortable in society and returned to the road. He got a job in an Italian restaurant in Vegas and buried a few items while recovering some from the Park Service. Ronald Franz via letter to Krakauer. Give me that magazine from that one day about that candle kid.
I'm gonna do that thing.
After leaving Jan and Buras in Salton City, I'm gonna hike into the desert and set up camp in Anza Borrego.
Not so fast, a kid that I don't know, but for some reason feel the need to help.
Can you give me a ride back to my camp, stranger?
Sure thing, past all the hippies and nudists, right?
Yep.
You know, I lost my son in a mysterious car accident. You remind me of him.
Cool. I made a belt. It's February now. I'm gonna go to San Diego. Wanna drive me up there?
Sure thing, pal, who is significantly younger than me.
For his first project, McCandless produced a tooled leather belt on which he created an artful pictorial record of his wanderings. Alex is inscribed at the belt's left hand, then the initials CGM for Christopher Johnson McCandless frame a skull and crossbones. Across a strip of cowhide, one sees rendering a two-lane blacktop, a no U-turn sign, a thunderstorm producing a flash that engulfs the car, a hitchhiker's thumb, an eagle, the Sierra Nevada, salmon cavorting in the Pacific Ocean, the Pacific Coast Highway from Oregon to Eagle, the Sierra Nevada, the Rocky Mountains, Montana wheat fields, a South Dakota rattlesnake, Westerberg's house at Carthage, the Colorado River, a gale in the Gulf of California.
Well, damn. Here I am. Just a little longer until I don't have to work this stupid job and travel to Alaska.
Candace, are you clueless? I know you're ready to get out of here, but you have 4 more weeks.
Yeah, Chris, you can't cover your ass every day, you know?
Seriously, Chris.
You guys just wait. One day I'll be known as the greatest explorer ever.
Had Chris always had connections with nature?
Oh yes, ever since he was a little boy, he adored being outside with all of God's creations. I basically had to drag him inside every night for bed.
Could you tell me a bit about the boat your husband bought for family cruises?
Wonderful memories we have on that boat.
So I'm assuming Chris loved it as well.
Well, not exactly. He wasn't very fond of it. Come to think of it, he wasn't very fond of anything we bought him. He always seemed so embarrassed whenever his father would get him something expensive. He didn't even want him to buy him a new car for college. He was always a very independent person and always refused us to buy him anything he desired.
So, what was your reaction when he told you about making his journey?
I was completely heartbroken that my little boy wanted to leave us, his family, and go discover more in this world. What more could he have wanted? We gave him food, shelter, love, and paid college tuition, and he thought it was always for adventure.
So you felt opposed to follow his dream?
Well, of course I was. It's foolish. Who would drop everything just to go on a cross-country journey to die alone somewhere in starvation? It's just brainless. I just give anything to have him here back home.
Were you and your son close?
Well, not close, but we had every other dad and son relationship. Of course, not playing catch in the park or watching football together, but he always respected me.
How about as an adult? How was he as a high school student or even a college student?
Well, then he graduated high school. We offered to buy him a new car for college, but he refused. He also gave away the rest of his college funds without our consent too.
How supportive were you when it came to Chris's journey?
Not at all. I thought he was foolish and laughed at him, but now that I think about it, that's probably wasn't the best thing because I miss him so much. He never even showed signs of actually leaving. I thought it was just some crazy idea he got. As a child, he would always come up with crazy ideas. However, would never fall through, which would cause him to isolate himself, but I never realized how truly gifted and kind-hearted he really was.
Chris gives his dad Walt an expensive Questar telescope.
I remember sitting there when he gave Dad the telescope. Chris had tossed back a few drinks that night and was pretty blitz. He got real emotional. He was almost crying, fighting back the tears, telling Dad that even though they had their differences over the years, he was grateful for all the things Dad had done for him. Chris said how much he respected his dad for starting from nothing, working his way through college, busting his ass to support 8 kids. It was a moving speech. Everybody there was all choked up, and then he left on his trip.
His parents, Walt and Billy, tried to prevent him from going, but instead they persuaded him to take Walt's Texaco credit card for emergencies and exacted a promise from their son to call home every 3 days.
We had our hearts in our mouths the whole time he was gone, but there was no way to stop him.
As soon as I heard he was home, I ran to his room to talk with him. He was on his bed asleep. He was so thin. He looked like those paintings of Jesus on the cross. When Mom saw how much he weighed, she lost it. She was a total wreck. She started cooking like mad to try and put some meat back on his bone.
Chris was good at almost everything he tried, which made him supremely overconfident. So at first I didn't say anything about the safety aspect. I played tennis with Chris, talked about other things, then eventually sat down with him to discuss the risk he'd taken. I learned by then that a direct approach, by God, you better not try a stunt like that again, didn't work with Chris. Instead, I tried to explain that we didn't object to his travels. We just wanted him to be a little more careful and to keep us informed about his whereabouts.
Chris thought we were idiots for worrying about him.
When we went with Chris up to his dorm room, I thought his roommate's parents were going to have a stroke on the spot. The roommate was a preppy kid from Connecticut, dressed like Joe College, and Chris walks in with a scraggly beard and worn out clothes, looking like Jeremiah Johnson, packing a machete and a deer hunting rifle. But you know what? Within 90 days, the preppy roommate had dropped out, while Chris had made the dean's list.
Hey, I think my grades will be good enough to get into Harvard Law School.
Summer after his freshman year of college, Chris returned to Annandale and worked for his parents' company developing computer software.
The program he wrote for us that summer was flawless. We still use it today and have sold copies of the program to many clients. But when I asked Chris to show me how he wrote it, to explain why it worked the way it did, he refused. All you need to know is that it works, he said. You don't need to know how or why. Chris was just being Chris. It infuriated me. He would have made a great CIA agent. I'm serious. I know guys who work for the CIA. He told us what he thought and we needed to know, and nothing more. He was that way about everything.
Chris's relations with his parents, which had been unusually courteous since his graduation from high school, deteriorated significantly that summer, and Walt and Billy had no idea why.
Chris was sort of the person who brooded about things. If something bothered him, he would come right out and say it. He'd keep it to himself, harboring his resentment, letting the bad feelings build and build.
In a letter to Chris,
You have completely dropped away from all who love you and care about you. Whatever it is, whoever you're with, do you think this is right?
Chris saw this as meddling and referred to the letter as stupid when he talked to Karen. Chris railed at his sister.
What does she mean, whoever I'm with? She must be fucking nuts. You know what I bet? Bet they think I'm a homosexual. How did they ever get that idea? What a bunch of imbeciles.
Spring of 1990, when Walt, Billy, and Karen attended Chris's graduation ceremony, they thought he seemed happy. Shortly thereafter, he donated the balance of his bank account to Oxfam, loaded up his car, and vanished from their lives. From then on, he scrupulously avoided contacting either his parents or Karen, the sister for whom he purportedly cared immensely.
We were all worried when we didn't hear from him, and I think my parents' worry was mixed with hurt and anger.
In July 1992, 2 years after Chris left Atlanta, Billy was asleep in Chesapeake Beach when she sat bolt upright in the middle of the night, waking Walt.
I was sure I heard Chris calling me. I don't know how I ever get over it. I wasn't dreaming, didn't imagine. I heard his voice. He was begging, "Mom, please help." But I couldn't help him because I didn't know where he was. And that was all he said. "Mom, please help."
Gaylord Stuckey walks up to a thermal pool expecting to be alone when he finds Alex already in it.
Well, I say howdy there, fella. You mind if I join you?
Of course you can. There's more than enough room.
You're not from around these parts here, are you?
No, I'm just passing through. So you're from around here?
I'm en route from Indiana to Alaska to deliver a new motorhome to a Fairbanks RV dealer.
Hey, that's where I'm going too. But I've been stuck here for a couple of days now, trying to get a lift. Mind if I ride with you?
Oh, Jiminy. I'd love to, son, but I can't. The company I work for has a strict rule against picking up hitchhikers. It could get me canned.
Look, I really need a ride. What do I need to do?
Well, my name isn't Gaylord for nothing.
Gaylord gives Alex a ride. On April 25th, Stuckey buys a bag of rice for Alex and then drives him to the University of Alaska at Fairbanks, where Alex wants to look up books on edible plants at the library. Before Gaylord leaves, Alex agrees to write him a letter when he returns from Alaska. Alex spends 2 days and 3 nights around Fairbanks. He finds a field guide of the area's edible plants, writes postcards to Wayne Westerberg and Jan Burris, and buys a .22 caliber Remington. On April 28, 1992, Alex hitches a ride with Jim Gallion that will bring him to the Stampede Trail. While on the trail, Alex discovers the abandoned bus. He starts the hunt and is terrible at first. After about a month, he starts routinely shooting and eating squirrels, porcupines, and spruce grouses. On June 9th, 1992, Alex kills a moose and feels so accomplished that he takes a photo of it. He ends up preserving it wrong and it becomes infested, so he has to just leave it there for the wolves.
What the? I can't cross this river. It's overflooded. I guess I'll have to go back to the bus. I'm glad I don't have a mirror cause I'm so skinny and weak. I bet I'm dying. Darn. I shouldn't have eaten them seeds.
Back at the bus, As he was reading Dr. Zhivago, he noted on the side, "Happiness only real when shared." As Alex laid there in the old mattress that he found on the bus, he thought about all the things he had left to discover.
Man, what was I thinking? Dude. I don't even know what day this is. I gotta get me some food. I'm burning more calories than I'm taking in. That can't be good. Wait. I better leave a note just in case someone comes here while I'm gone. Somebody get me a pencil. God, what I'd give for a crayon.
Chris quickly writes this note.
SOS, I need your help. I am injured. Near death, and too weak to hike out of here. I am all alone. This is no joke. In the name of God, please remain to save me. I am out collecting berries close by and shall return this evening. Thank you.
It was the last day he wrote in his journal. Beautiful blueberries.
What a day I'm having. Somebody get me another pencil. These are probably the last words I'll ever write. I had a beautiful life and thank the Lord. Goodbye and may God bless all.